He was a coach at Santa Clara. He said, Pete, it was a hell of an idea, but let me tell you something. If you're ever going to play like that, win it.
Cal had no answer for Russell or Wilt Chamberlain, whose Kansas team also beat the Bears in Berkeley in 1956. Newell finally found a giant of his own in the fall of 1957.
I first remember Harmon when I came to Berkeley in 1956. I went to the registration line at Harmon, looked at this big gymnasium, and of course it was wide open. All the baskets were pulled up, and all the registration tables were out. And as I was standing in line, a group of tall individuals walked up to me and asked me if I'd like to come out and row for Cal's rowing team. And at that time, the freshman coach, Jim Lemon, walked up and he says, "No, I think Pete Newell has plans for this guy."
In 1959, men's gym was renamed in honor of APK Harmon, whose gift had financed the original Cal Gymnasium. The Bears celebrated the christening by going on a tear. Between December 1958 and December 1960, they won 26 home games in a row, the longest streak in the building's history.
We really weren't aware of it. We were playing each game one at a time. That's the way Pete coaches. And we just played one at a time, and there were times when we were behind coming into the last minute or two of the ball game, and had to scramble to come out and win the ball game. But there was really no pressure. We believed going into every ball game we played that we would win.
And there was only one game, I think, that was even close. I think we played the University of Colorado Friday and Saturday in our junior year, and Colorado gave us a pretty good game the first night, and I think we ended up winning by about 4 or 5 points, but turned around and beat him by about 25 or 30 the second night.
It was like it was an equalizer. You're in our territory now, and basically all of the environment is on our side, and it's all against you.
Harmon was a big part of that team, having the confidence and having the success that they brought to the program.
71-70, just 2 seconds away from the end of this ball game. There's the shot. It is no good. Ball in the air. 1 second, and before West Virginia can shoot, it's all over. And California wins the NCAA championship 71-70.
1960 would be Pete Newell's final year as coach of the Bears. In 6 seasons, he won 62 games at Harmon and lost just 16.
I think Harmon was probably partly responsible for Pete leaving coaching. He perhaps was embarrassed out of coaching. I remember when he used to enter the gym, the second he made an appearance, people started applauding like crazy, and it became a standing ovation. And all of a sudden, he wouldn't walk that way. He'd come down to the closest entrance to his seat and almost trying to sneak in, but they'd see him, and they'd start applauding. And then I remember the players on the court putting the ball on the floor and applauding their coach. And then I saw visiting players put their ball on the floor and applaud the coach. And I really thought that Pete was embarrassed by all that attention.
When I would come out on the court, I would be so focused on what was going to be happening. I wasn't even conscious of any more than I was when I was 111. They were probably throwing things at me and I didn't know it.
Years later, when the playing court in Harmon was officially dedicated as Pete Newell Court, another element of Cal's home court edge came to light.
And they discovered that the floor was 98 feet long instead of 94.
That's one reason we pressed. We may have tried to make conditioning a fact of the game. We played a historic game against UCLA. I told our players, I said, you know, we're going to make this a conditioning game, and we're going to press them 94 feet. I didn't say 98, I said 94 feet. But it was 98 feet. So we played no timeouts the first half. We go 17 minutes the second half, no timeouts. The score's tied just like this. We got at them in the backcourt, and we stole the ball, and they were really more visibly tired. We got 8 points on them, and we won the game. And that was the start of winning 8 in a row from them.
Perhaps the last great victory of the Newell era came on February 18, 1961. The Bears found themselves down 21 points to Stanford at halftime. Under coach Rennie Herrerius, a group of proud seniors sparked one of the most improbable comebacks in Harmon annals.
They were the last of that 58, 59, and 59-60 team. And here we're down 21 points, and at halftime, I didn't have to say anything. I knew that they were going to come back.
Will this be just a brief flurry, or will the Bears make a concerted drive for 20 minutes?
There comes a time when the players know what has to be done, and in that particular game with Stanford was good.
Fantastic!
to 38. The Bears have scored 14-0 over the Indians in 4 minutes of the second half.
And I remember Coach Dalmar, rest his soul, leaving the court in tears because they were up 21 at half, and we hadn't lost to Stanford.
It's over. The Bears have won it.
In its 64 years, Harmon Gym has hosted 1,542 intercollegiate basketball games and a multitude of other university and community events.
We went into Harmon Gym when the weather was bad, preparing for the big game. So I can remember practicing football in Harmon Gym, seeing the baseball team practice in Harmon Gym.
They used to have university meetings. They no longer have those. And President Sproul used to select 4 students out of the student body to speak at that university meeting. And when I was a senior, I was selected to speak.
I know the San Francisco Symphony appeared in the gymnasium, as well as recitals by various soloists, either, say, piano or vocal. Marian Anderson appeared in Harmon Gymnasium.
The Special Olympics, we have our summer games here at Berkeley, and the gym they use for gymnastics.
Through the 50s and 60s, Harmon was the site of the Bay Area's most prestigious high school series, the Tournament of Champions.
This was it. I mean, if you played or coached at Harmon, I mean, it was a big deal.
Berkeley was the place to play, and the student body, of course, all in white shirts used to come over from St. Ignatius. Coming to Harmon was like going to Madison Square Garden.
But the 1960s saw sports slide into the background on the Cal campus. Things were becoming noisier outside Harmon than inside.
I can remember walking down to our first freshman game. I was so excited, and I saw all these riot gear policemen in back of Sproul Hall, and I thought, wow, they must really need a lot of people to control the crowd at Harmon Gym. And then I walked out in front, and there was Mario.
The university has no right to regulate the content of speech.
By the close of the decade, Cal's gym was no longer the showplace of the West Coast. Charles Johnson recalls his first impressions of the facility.
I thought it was the girls' gym, to tell you the truth, because my high school gym was a lot cleaner, had showers that worked, you know, and you actually had a place where you could hang your clothes up. You didn't have to put them on the chair that you sat on.